Bill Cooper from Cooper BP, he owns BP Stations, he gives me a call. He goes, "Hey Kevin, do you know that they're taking the road to a vote on Monday the 20th and they're going to make it a 2-lane road?" And I go, "You got to be kidding me, Bill. What are you talking about?"
The city of Stevens Point and a former council person went to AECom and told them this is what we want, the road diet 2-lane option. And so the fact that the city didn't have AECom do both a 2-lane and a 4-lane option is leaving the road the way it is where the problem all started.
When we first moved in, there was a Stevens Point Public Works person that came in and gave me some information on how they were going to be redoing some of the infrastructure out on Church Street. They made no mention of any type of road reconstruction or road diet or anything like that.
We were not involved. I mean, we make a living off this road, and you'd think that we would be involved from the very beginning, and nothing. We didn't know about it until 2 or 3 days before they were going to vote on it at the city council.
Personally, I think it was flown under the radar. February 21st of 2020, they said they put door hangers on the doors. I look back on the weather. I keep great records for my car lot. It was like 10 below zero that day. So my guess is, only speculation, that whoever they paid to hang these door hangers threw them in the garbage and said, "It's too cold. I'm not going to do this," and bolted. It happens. We don't know. So regardless, I know for a fact that none of us got those door hangers.
When we purchased the building, I feel like if this was something that was coming in into the plan, that they would look at who the new owner was or who the new occupant was and get them up to date on whatever the city was planning. I didn't get any information.
What happened right after February 21st, 2020? 2 weeks later, Governor Evers put us on lockdown for 2 months. All we were worried about was getting our businesses to survive, keeping our doors open, paying our employees, and supporting their families. So throughout 2020, we all know what happened with the pandemic. That's when they went through this design phase. That's when they pushed everything, had their meetings, and they were Zoom meetings.
They did them in a online form because of the COVID-19, and there was anywhere from 30 to 40 people. Most of them were officials and people having to do with the project. It wasn't really a public forum. It was basically a lecture. Them telling us what was going to be done. There wasn't any sessions for asking questions.
The report that they did, the company that they hired, they did the road count in the middle of COVID when people weren't traveling, students weren't in class. Century, which is one of the largest buildings in town that people drive this corridor to get to, wasn't even in business. They were all working remotely. Everybody was working remotely from home.
You think Amy Campfield from AECom would have knocked on Gold Key Motors' door and said, "Mr. Flatoff, we're going to redesign your road. We're having some meetings. We think you might want to be part of this."
It was, this is what you're going to present us. This is what you're going to draw up. This is how we want it. And that's the end of the discussion.
I believe they were hired by the city, so the city was looking for a certain result, and that's the result that the company provided them.
I got on the website. I spent about 3 hours. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. They're going to do this to us? And then I started calling the driveways that they're going to take away. There were X's for every driveway they're taking away. Over 57 driveways the city of Stevens Point and AECom are going to take away from all the businesses on the Business 51 corridor. So I called up John Kanoki from Southside Business Association, also an acquaintance. I go, "John, here's what's going on. We got to do something about this."
Kevin called me. I'm like, that can't be. That can't be right. Nobody's ever contacted me, asked my opinion. So that's when I started walking up and down the Business 51, talking to owners.
John and I picked businesses up and down the Business 51 corridor. We started knocking on doors. We started talking to the owners.
I didn't find out about it until some neighboring businesses came in and told me this is exactly what the city is planning.
And of the 25 different people that I talked to, not one of them knew that there was a city council meeting and that there was going to be a decision and a vote on the road. Literally 3 or 4 days before the city council meeting.
I feel like they purposely didn't mention to me that this was in the works because I think that they knew that the response would be as negative as it is.
I called Kevin to tell him, hey, there's a city council meeting going on tonight, and they're going to be talking about the 2-lane road diet for the city of Stevens Point for Business 51.
September 20th of 2021, when the city council met to go to the 30% design phase, a lot of us business owners showed up, very concerned. Concerned citizens throughout the city of Stevens Point showed up, and we let them know that we thought this was not a good idea, that it was going to harm us, and that we're not okay with it.
City of Stevens Point Common Council meeting.
Recorded September 20th.
There's no consideration for any small businesses here.
I'm concerned that my business is done.
It's too big of a thing just for this many people to decide, for all the people here that are affected.
I want to just have a chance to make a living.
We're trying to come out of a pandemic, which we don't seem to be coming out of. On top of that, we're going to make decisions like this. I think we need to rethink it.
The location, lot size, and accessibility was the main attraction to me and my husband when purchasing our building for our business. Had we been made aware of such a proposal, we would have considered another location.
This was our opportunity to give what our opinions were and to really show the council that this is where we're coming from, and maybe they would actually listen and say, wow, I didn't think about that, or that's not something that we ever considered. I felt like all of our speeches fell on deaf ears.
I could not be more upset. The whole South Side business community is upset. It was probably one of the biggest turnouts at a city council meeting. I got up and spoke in front of the city council. Their eyes just glazed over. They did not care. They didn't even look at me. They were just blankly staring out straight ahead. And I don't think they cared what anybody said.
You could see in their eyes, they were kind of just dazing off, daydreaming, not listening to a word we had to say.
It was more the fact that they had already decided this is the way it's going to be, and if they didn't have to have us talk or listen to us, they probably would have preferred it that way. That's the impression we got. Nobody reached out to us. No members of the Common Council tried to get a hold of us after the meeting or the next day to talk about our concerns and problems with the project.
The motion is to approve going forward with the 30% design. If you are in favor, vote yes. If you are opposed, you will vote no, and Clerk Yenter will call that roll.
Any normal city council, after we spoke, would have put a pause on the project, would have arranged meetings with the businesses up and down Business 51 and the concerned citizens.
Shore.
Aye.
Hemer.
Aye.
Zarazua.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Slowinski.
No.
Kneebone.
Aye.
Leak.
Aye.
Dalton.
Aye.
Fischler.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Their minds were already made up. They rebutted with speeches that were written before they even walked in there.
The best pre-scripted speech of all was, of course, Melissa Johnson, the city council president, where she spent 15 minutes patting herself and AECom on the back.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, everyone here. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Even if I don't agree with you, I appreciate that you're here. People who know me know that that's really who I am. I'm a person who takes in both acquired preaching to me and others. I want to thank our expert contractor, AECom, and they are the best at what they do. I also want to thank, in my professional life, who are all amazing. Thank you, Dave Obie. When I successfully shepherded to successful referendum for the healthcare center, this is what our experts have delivered to us.
It was disgusting.
I was under the assumption that we were going to avoid what happened last time. We were going to specifically go out and reach out to these business owners to make sure that they were involved in the beginning. We were going to have these stakeholder meetings. It was said by Amy with the AECom that we were going to create stakeholder meetings to get these businesses involved. And now look at where we're at tonight again. I am so disappointed in this process. I'm embarrassed.
I mentioned to the city council at that meeting, this will go to referendum.
This will go to referendum if it gets voted down. And you know, everybody knows where I'm at. I'm at Gold Key Motors, and I'll be heading that. Thank you.
And when the meeting ended, I'm like, what did I do? I know nothing about referendums. I picked up the phone. I started calling lawyers across the state. I called a couple in Stevens Point. They wanted nothing to do with it. They didn't want to take on the city. I get it. Called Brian Randall, a brilliant lawyer. He's the best municipal lawyer in the state of Wisconsin. He took on our case for pennies on the dollar. He cared. He took this on. He came up with the wording for our referendum.
We had meetings with AECom. We were invited to schedule a time. So we went, and almost immediately they just started going off as to what the road plan was. This is what's going to happen. This is what it's going to look like. They didn't ask for my opinion. They didn't ask, what do you think?
They didn't listen at the city council meetings. They didn't listen at this meeting. As a matter of fact, I was threatened with eminent domain. I also was feeling that they didn't care what my opinion was or what my recommendations would be. They were just moving forward with whatever. I felt like they were just humoring us with those meetings.
I think it was more to say, hey, Stevens Point, we are working with the business owners. They didn't work with us.
We had, I believe it was a half an hour. I was maybe there 7 or 8 minutes and walked out.
They said, come and express what your opinion is. Let us know what you would like to see. I felt like it was a complete waste of time.
None of the business owners that I talked to walked away from the meetings with AECom and Scott Benoon feeling good about it and feeling positive about the direction we're headed.
They just want to cram their agenda down the city's throat and, tell us it tastes good, and it doesn't.
The failure for those guys to sit down and have serious talks with us, the business owners, get our point of view before it got to the point that it was a mistake on their part, and that's one of the reasons why we're fighting it.
For the next 4 or 5 months, we went in front of the city council, pled our case over and over and over. Every time we went in front of the city council, they were staring off into space, daydreaming, not concerned with the word we had to say, or any citizens for that matter.
There was no question and answer. There was no getting any of our opinions. There was nothing of the sort. I listened to Ms. Cantfield from AECom scold and put down anybody that had anything against this program.
So I don't believe for a minute that they are going to work with any of us business people. I don't believe it. I walked out of that meeting disgusted. And for that reason, I'm going to support Mr. Flatoff's position.
When I listened to the speeches that were given by the city council members as to those that were not in favor of going to 2 lanes, there was not a single comment that was made regarding any of the comments that people made. And we were told, you know what, it's great to have so many people out. But the people's voices were not heard on that day.
Just like to give you an update since the last meeting. Nobody's been in touch with me. You haven't been in touch with me. I don't know what to say. I mean, I've asked for help.
The council should be ashamed of the way this has been handled. Your mentality to keep your head down and simply push through your agenda is selfish and irresponsible. Your community is talking. It's your duty to listen. If I had $1.5 or $1.6 million, I would hire a company to perform a study that would produce results in my favor too.
There was a lot of passion at those council meetings, and the purpose of the council meetings is for the city council to listen to the community, and they didn't give the community the ear that they needed to.
David Shore, on your Streets blog, I read it 20 times. Not only did you disrespect the mayor of Stevens Point, in your opinion, but you disrespected the citizens of Stevens Point. When you said that their opinion doesn't matter, you turned your back on us and you put your nose to the ground and pushed through and got your agenda through, regardless of the high opposition.
I think that the David Shore article is completely absurd. I think that the people that vote for him should reconsider the voting for David Shore, because he's supposed to be hired or voted in to represent his community. And if he's not listening to his community, then he's not the right person for the job.
So this became fairly clear that it was agenda driven and not focused on the businesses or the citizens of Stevens Point. Jeremy Slowinski had proposed a referendum to the city council where the southern corridor stays 4 lanes, the central corridor, which is the Division Street residential corridor, go road diet because they don't have space to expand or anything. And then the northern corridor, which is 4th Avenue North, remain 4 lanes.
Compromise. I'm willing to compromise. I'm willing to work with people. Like I stated before, this is our corridor. And I don't know why we can't come to the table and just sit down. I feel so sorry for you and what's happening to you. I do. Why can't we just sit down? Why do we have to? I don't want to take it to referendum. Why can't we just get this done?
Begin calling the roll, please, clerk.
Christensen.
No.
Shore.
No.
Keemer.
No.
Zarazua.
No.
Johnson.
No.
Slowinski.
Aye.
Kneebone.
No.
Leek.
No.
Dalton.
No.
Fischler.
No.
Morrow.
No.
The resolution is not approved.
Obviously, we have tried to work with City Council. They've turned their backs on us. So after the December 20th turn down of our referendum proposal, we knew it was clear. A lot of people rallied behind us, and we got 2,500 signatures in 21 days. Unheard of. If that doesn't send a message to the City Council and the City of Stevens Point, I don't know what will.
I've done things like collect signatures for other projects before, and this was really easy. As a matter of fact, I was turning down people that wanted to sign on to this, but when I found out that they weren't in the city, they lived in Plover, they lived in Whiting, they lived in Hull, or all around the county, I said, yeah, I'm sorry, you can't vote in this, so I can't take your signature, but we really appreciate the fact that you support this. What I found was a really successful, easy way to collect was that stand out in front of grocery stores. People would be going in and out of the grocery stores. It might be 15 degrees, 10 degrees. People would still stand out there and sign with you. They would wait. I had people waiting to sign the petitions in the cold weather in January in the middle of Wisconsin.
What the referendum states and what we're doing is that any road project over $1 million of public taxpayer expenditure has to go to public referendum and let the citizens vote on it.
The referendum was written specifically for a dollar amount so that we could make it binding. If we just went in for a referendum specifically to Business 51, it would just be an advisory referendum.
If we would have got 70-80% of the vote, the City Council could still say, no, we're going to go forward with the road project regardless.
The reason for our referendum was so that we can make it binding and really let the community vote and let their voices be heard.
We have to create an ordinance in the city of Stevens Point requiring the city, frankly, to take any road project over $1 million to a binding, and the key word is binding, because once it's over, to a binding referendum, which will force them to take Business 51 to a binding referendum. People have voiced concerns about the $1 million mark. There have only been 7 road projects in the city of Stevens Point in the last 9 years over $1 million. It's not that common. It's less than one a year. If it's a $3 million road project and we have $2.5 million in state and or federal funding and grants, it is only a $500,000 expenditure to the taxpayers of the city of Stevens Point. Those roads will not go to referendum. They are under the $1 million mark, as are most of them. So the $1 million mark isn't as concerning as they want you to think.
What we were told a lot, and what I heard a lot, and to myself too, is you're not an engineer. Well, we realize we're not engineers. The problem is that we want to know why there wasn't a 4-lane option put to redo the road the way that it currently is. Because I was told by Scott Badoon, the city public works director, that there is nothing preventing the city from doing it the way that it's currently done. The main concern on the city's part and AECOM's and all that, where the big word was safety.
Brought a lot of emergency equipment through the city when I was on the fire department. If we go down to 2 lanes instead of 4, it will be a real safety issue. That's what got me started in the first place. People in city government need to listen to what they're being told here. They're making a monumental mistake that could last decades, cost millions of dollars. If they pour the curb and gutter, we're not going to be able to undo this thing. And we're going to be stuck with a really, really bad idea. People are going to get hurt. The sheriff is against this thing. He knows. He's been involved in moving emergency equipment all of his adult life. We should listen to him. He's an expert.
If you haven't seen the problems that occur in regards to the road data, you can take a look at Highway 66 going out by the airport when emergency vehicles come, because people don't understand which way to pull off. They can't pull off to the right, so they pull off to the middle or they stop in the lane of traffic. So there's been some near misses.
People freak out when all of a sudden there's this big red truck behind them with sirens and horns blasting, and they don't know where to go in 4 lanes. Now narrow it down to 2 with choke points all along the way. It is going to be terrible.
AECom and the city council are trying to preach safety. It couldn't be further from the truth.
I do have a lot of concerns in regards to the safety of our staff, also the safety for the citizens. So I'm looking for alternates in regards to what they're proposing for this road diet right now.
I think the neighboring streets are going to really suffer as well because people are going to go around. And just as a person driving in this community, I don't want to drive on a 2-lane road that is meant for 4 lanes. It's going to be, it's going to slow things down. It's going to make it frustrating for drivers. When school gets out in my particular location, even with 4 lanes, it is a mess.
You have to look at, number one, the routing of traffic for the alternate route for I-39, which we've done, I think, 5 times already this year. And that draws a lot of concern because that's my responsibility. So when you have an influx of semi-traffic and I-39 traffic, I do not believe that a 2-lane road would be able to handle the amount of traffic coming down this roadway.
I've done a ton of research on this. I sell cars, winter gets slow. I've been all over doing research on road diets. And the one article that really hit home was, when are Vision Zero and road diets going to stop killing people? It was a science-based study for 9 years in 4 cities: Austin, Texas, Denver, Colorado, Toronto, Canada, and Los Angeles, California. The data they came up with after 9 years is that traffic fatalities increased by 23% in these communities where there were road diets.
I think the whole thing is just, it just sounds absurd to me, and most everyone that I talk to has the same opinion, because this is it's a big town, we're a growing community, and to reduce the flow is opposite of what we should be doing in a growing community.
When it comes to taxes, there's a few signs floating around. Just say no to increased taxes. Let me make this clear. There is nothing on our referendum that says anything about taxes whatsoever.
I believe that they have people calling, making personal phone calls saying taxes are going to be increased 40 to 50% or something ridiculous like that.
It's not the truth. It's a downright lie. There's nothing on there about taxes.
I think that's just a really dirty way to play.
If we were, and I got the number from Scott Badoon, the Public Works Director, if we were to redo the road as a 4-lane road as close to what we have as possible with widening it a little bit, making some safety adjustments, it's $5.9 million less than the proposed road diet.
People need to understand that no matter what happens with the road out there, whether it's 2 lanes or 4 lanes, your taxes will be impacted, period.
There's going to be grants available for the Business 51 corridor, whether it's a 2-lane or a 4-lane road.
The businesses are not anti-safety. We are all for safety. We are all for pedestrian safety, bicyclist safety. I mean, but we got to work within the confines that we currently have, and that's what we would like to do.
Please vote yes for the referendum on August 9th. We need to stop this from proceeding. And that's the only way we can stop this, is with the August 9th referendum.
Get out and vote, make your voice heard. This is your chance to make a difference in ways that's going to affect your life every day that you get on the road.
We're talking about saving the businesses. This is called Business 51 for a reason. There are all businesses here. Everybody is here because of the exposure, because of the easy access to their business. When they take the driveways out, it's going to make it more difficult for businesses to let their customers in, and eventually customers are going to find another business to go to, whether that be a restaurant, a doctor's office, a car lot, a cleaning company. If it's hard to get to and it's congested, people are going to find something else, and it's just a matter of time before that really happens.
So I just would like to thank all the citizens of Stevens Point, really, for standing behind the businesses, for standing up for themselves to keep this a 4-lane road that flows efficiently, effectively, and smoothly, and safely. You've come forward, you've been generous, you've been very supportive. We're doing this not only for the businesses, but for everybody in Stevens Point. Please get out and vote on August 9th. Let's save Business 51. Let's keep Stevens Point moving forward. Thank you.